Hey up everybody and welcome back. Well, it's Monday and I really got ahead of myself this time. I'm actually one full video ahead. So yesterday you just watched part 1 and I've already done part 2. So I won't, well, you'll have seen part 2. I was going to say I won't spoil the surprise for you, but you'll have seen part 2 by the time you see this, because this is part 3. But the thing is, as I say, I haven't seen any comments from part 2 yet, but I have seen a lot of comments from part 1. So a number of the comments were about the engine, because several of you got quite excited, well, you didn't get excited, but interested in the fact I was going to put the Honda engine in. And then you were disappointed when I said I wasn't. As one viewer put it, and then you decided to put another crusty old BSA in. He still said he'd enjoy watching, but it got me thinking. So I spent some time on the internet. I don't even remember what I put in part 2 now, so I've maybe told you some of this. But anyway, that definitely is an XL250 engine, 72 to 75, and they had that carburetor sticking out, and the petrol tank has a little cutaway, the right hand rear side for the carburetor, and then it comes off the carb behind the right hand side cover, so I presume there's an airbox in there. Then they changed to a more central one, but then they went to, I didn't follow right through, but they went to 2 exhaust pipes, all sorts of things. So from my reading, it doesn't sound as if the centre mount carb one end head will fit the side mount carb head. But I've just been looking at it, and I think, and it would be an interesting mod, I think I can cut that off, the actual mount, turn it and make a new mount that points inwards a bit. And I must admit, it would be interesting to make it out of the Honda. So I'm still thinking about it, and I'm really leaning towards it, but I don't know. But you see, I do listen to you. So what's going on? Well, as you saw in last week's, we got this all straightened out. What I've just done now is that plate at the bottom of the down tube where the skid plate mounts, I've just bent that down a little bit. I had a very interesting comment from somebody, as I thought, but I didn't mention it. These frames were made by Mick Whitlock, who made his own bikes. But I had a comment to say that they were made very much to Sammy Miller's spec. Not so much his design, if you like. You know, he didn't give the design, apparently he didn't give the design to Mick Whitlock and say make that. He not only gave him the design with the measurements on it, but he spec'd the tube and everything. That gusset plate, actually, when I measure it, is only 16th. All this is only 1/8. We know the tube is a bit smaller. And this chap commented that they did have trouble with them just in general use, actually distorting, and a friend of his had had a bit of an argy-bargy, I think. Am I remembering that right? But anyway, he complained to Sammy Miller about the fact that his frame was twisted in use. So there's the thing. Now, I'm not so much worried about engine weight. Originally when I started the workshop, I was just going to restore trials bikes. And basically here, nobody wanted to pay the money for them. So the last 2 bikes I had were an RL 250 Suzuki and a Montesa Court 348. And rather than do anything with them, I just parted them out. I sold both engines, which I had to ship. And I think both of them were, one was 80, one was 82 pounds. Whereas you remember the Honda engine is only 78. So, and the BSA engine is 80, 82, depending on the size of the engine. So the engine weight is around about the same as the Bultaco. So I don't think that would be a problem. So as I say, I'm leaning to it. We shall see what we shall see. Okay, so what are we going to do now? Well, I've been making some more measurements at the back here, but instead of sort of using the front loop of the frame, I've gone from the swinging arm with a set square to make sure everything's right, just from the tube here. So I got the centre of the tube from, I used a set square to get both sides of the tube and then divided that in two. So that's the centre of this tube, no matter what the rest of it is. And we know this is square and everything. So I transferred those measurements, again using a square on the swinging arm cross tube to get the measurements back to here, and it had moved over a quarter of an inch. So I've just set to and remade those two spacing pieces. So one was easy, just made it shorter because the movement moved it over to the left, which I didn't actually want. And the other one I had to make a new one because it had to be longer. So what we're going to do is we're going to put the forks back in, put the front wheel in, measure up for the front wheel spaces. Then today it's supposed to be sunny and 78, which is what, 78, there's 20 degrees C. So I can put the tyre outside, get nice and warm, and I'll put the tyre on. So we'll finish the front end off. Then we're going to put the back wheel in here, and I'm going to make up a little piece, I'll show you it as I make it, just to bolt onto the hub so I can see that I've got clearance in the swinging arm, and I'll be able to get the chain line on it better as well. Alright, so actually I might do that now while we're over here. Let me carry this over there and then we'll make that piece. No, I won't. I'll do the forks first. Let's keep ourselves moving in the right order. Alright, so let's move over there and put the forks back in. Alright, so there's the front wheel in. Actually, I shouldn't have to make spaces up for this, should I? Because this wheel is going straight in here. What did I do with... Did I use... I used the one spacer that goes inside there, that fits into the oil seal there. But anyway, what we're going to do is just measure this side, measure that side, get it centered in the forks, and then we'll measure. Well, actually, of course, there isn't a spacer that goes in this side because it's the thicker piece. So I just need to measure the spacer for in here. Alright, so let me get it centered anyway. Alright, so there's our spacing piece. There's an oil seal there, so that goes nice tight fit in that. So now we get to the always exciting bit. Did Michael measure it correctly, or has he screwed up yet again? Have I got my head in the way yet? Well, wow, come on. There we go. Sticking out that side a long way. Shorten that. That is miles out. I can tell just by looking at it. Seems to be miles out. Hang on a second. So I can shorten this threaded part, but let me put a little spacer on so I can tighten it up. Alright, shouting before I was bitten. I'm so used to making things the wrong size. I have this old scrappy 6-inch ruler, so I cut it down to 6 inches, to 4 inches, so I can fit it in here because it's easier actually to... Using the calipers, there's so many curves, it was difficult to know I was right, but here I've got 1.25 inches on that side, and I've got 1.25 inches on that side. Okay, everything is hunky-dory, and it's time to go and have something to eat. And that wheel actually looks as if it's about in the centre, or as I keep saying, near enough for a trial spike. Now, the handy thing about using these forks, of course, is I've got the torque arm and everything already made up. So I think what I'm going to do is take the brake cable and the adjuster thing off the greaser, put it on here because it matches this exactly, and then just make up a new cable for the greaser. Alright, let's go and get something down my neck. So, tyre went on nice and easily. I didn't bother showing you that. I laid it out in the sun, it got hot, put a bit of what's the word I'm looking for, people? A little bit of lubricant on, and it just went on just with hand pressure. So that's on there, and actually now I've got it in and bolted up. I've just measured across the mountings on the forks, it's 5 inches, and I measured the width across the mudguard stairs, and that's 5 inches. So I might just give it the tiniest little squidge to get it in, so we're all right there. So that's all that done. All works nicely. So what we're going to do now, I've got the door open because it's really nice, is we're going to go and look at that thing I'm going to make. Now we come to the very technical special fixture I've just made. It's that, a couple of bits of scrap 1/4 inch. It's 1/4 inch because that is the thickness of the sprocket. So we're going to bolt that on there like thusly. Now when I have it like that, that is how long or how far from the wheel spindle a 64 tooth sprocket is, right? So I'll be able to see if it's touching the, hang on. The swinging arm is this way. I'll be able to see if it's touching the swinging arm. Then if we turn the wheel around that way, I can use that piece to put a straight edge on to check my chain line to the sprocket on the engine, whichever engine we use. Alright, so let me put my little pieces in now that I've made them. So that goes in there. Oh, actually, I found a little bag that had 2 new oil seals for these. Put it in that way, Michael. And it goes in tight, and that goes in the swinging arm. Alright. Let's see if this goes in. Hang on, I've got to come round the back of you here. good, I think. So that goes in that side like that. That's, God, that's about a 1/16 of an inch out. Again, 1/16 of an inch will be my downfall. Come on, excuse me. Front end swiveled there. Let me put a couple of straps on the front end. Alright, it's hair pulling time. I just put check that this is exactly right. It's 15 inches both sides. Put the straight edge through on both sides, pressing that. I'm over 1/4 of an inch out this way. So the original things I had in there would have been right, because I've taken added a 1/4 inch this side, taken a 1/4 of an inch off that side. You know, I could start to lose my temper. I really am measurement challenged. Makes you wonder how I ever managed to make anything, doesn't it? Okay, so if I put the original one of these back in here, we'll move it over and see how it measures. Alright, I've put the original spacer back in there. I found a piece that's just right, 1/4 inch, it's gone in there. I'll have to remake that thing because it doesn't stick all the way through now. But again, I've measured. Right? We know the wheel is absolutely square in the swinging arm. So are you all ready for this? Gosh, this is so exciting. See, you don't get this with other people's videos, do you? So this is touching front and back on the rim. Right, so that's the line the wheel is in. And to the side here, we have got 7/8 of an inch. Da-da-da-da-da-da. Of course, you have to take my word for all of this, but alright, touching there. 7/8 of an inch. That wheel is now along the centre line of the bike. So the next thing to do is to check what we're going to see if we had a sprocket on it. So let's go around the other side. Right, let me jack it up so the wheel will spin. Yes, it clears. So that's actually it clears by a long way. We could be a bit further up there. Well, let's check that. Because we don't know exactly where the wheel's going to be, do we? Let's move it up to be at the front. Oh. Now we're touching the jack stand. So, if we push this so that it's all the way to the front, what's catching there? It wasn't that. I could see it wasn't that. No, I've got... Oh, I see what it is. It's this thing here. This oil. Never used one of those in my life, so I think I'll take that off. Alright, so we put the sprocket on there. Right, now let's check the next thing. Let this down so it's just touching. Just hold it in place. And hang on, we need a different straight edge. So, just had a nasty moment. That was down at the bottom. I brought it round and I thought, let me just check everything again. And I didn't get 7/8 either side. So, you know, that really had me stamping around. But then when I spun the wheel's doing this. So when I put the wheel back to where it was before, I got 7/8 either side. So, you know, when I look at it, it's absolutely spot on. The spokes seem to be spot on in the middle. So it's so close to do for work. And of course, the rim doesn't affect the hub. We could be doing this with just a hub in. So anyway, now I've got a straight edge clamped up against this, and it's basically how wide we'd be with the chain on. So we've got somewhere around about 1 1/4, 1 3/8, depending on where the rim is, and the rim's 3 inches wide, so it's 1 1/2 to there. We only need about 1/2 inch or so, say 3/4 to stick out here to give us chain, room for our chain, and we've got 1 1/4, so that's near enough. I could move this over 1/2 inch, which would clear here a bit better, and then here you see we've got 2 1/2 inches. Which is right, because this is almost 1/4 inch, that's 1/4 inch, so this is in 1/2 inch. And when I measured the face of here, it was 3 inches from there. So that in itself shows that we're almost spot on with our wheel. So that gives us, yeah, 2 3/4 to the inside of there. Hold on a second, I'm just going to move over here to where that Honda engine is on the shelf, and that is about that's not bad, it's not far off the centre line of the engine with that. I'm thinking more and more of this Honda engine. I think I'm going to buy some spokes and just set this wheel up loosely. We'll work everything off the hub, because the little bit in the rim I can move when I rebuild it. Don't think the rim's buckled, the rim looks fine, it's just waving. Okay, what shall we think about next? Good morning everybody. Alright, it's going to be decision day today. We have 2 decisions to make. I have spent the first part of this morning giving this engine a clean off so that I don't get clarted up moving it around. I also did some more research, and I found out that this has a 9.1 to 1 compression ratio. I found this great little website, well, not website, whatever you call it, on the internet, that will do algebra for you. It shows you the steps it takes, but it does algebra. So, and as you know, I'm definitely mathematically challenged. So, compression ratio is the swept volume, which is basically the size of the engine, like this is a 248. That's the volume that the piston actually going up and down covers. Plus the head space, which is the volume of the cylinder head, plus if the piston doesn't come all the way up to the top of the cylinder, there'll be a little bit there, divided by the head space, because that's the ratio we're getting. All of that volume, the swept volume and the head space, is being crushed into the head space. So that's the ratio. So basically, if you say the head space is X, it's, in this instance, 248 plus X divided by X equals 9.1. So I plugged that in, and bugger me, it gave me X. The head space is like 30 point something cc's. So then, I knew the bore and stroke. I worked out how much volume there was pardon me, per millimetre, and there's like 4.3 cc's per millimetre, because it's a wide, it's an over square engine. Well, at that I can get it down to actually 7 to 1 with only a 2 millimetre base plate, or you could use extra thick head gasket, copper gasket. And you know, that's, for those of you here in the US, what's that? 2 millimeters is 80 thou. Alright, so it's only just over a 16th of an inch. It's not even 3/32. So I could get this down to 7.5 to 1, something like that, just by putting a 50 thou compression plate in. And I'm sure there's that much give in the cam chain. So I thought, okay, we're going to give this a good looking at. So I also took off the little inlet manifold. You'll see that in a minute. And actually, I think I can get the carb to go on, not too bothered. So we have two things to decide on. One, will it actually fit? And then two, we've got to have a quick look inside the engine to see if it's worth doing, because we know we have a lot of stuff to do with the BSA. All right. Try to find something I can slip under there. Okay. Oh, my knee gave out on me then. So, that was my little fillet. think to have that in there, we'd have to take off those rear engine mounts. Maybe that. Didn't I put this in here? What did I do? Put it in from the other side? Because it seems to be this case that's... let's move it round and put it in from the other side. I'll switch you off and move you so I can do that. Alright, that lift table is very handy. I was just able to put it there and slip it onto here. And I've also found something. Not only does this have a little casting on the cylinder that says it's 248 cc's. Oh look, I didn't clean that side. That little bit. Did notice it doesn't have a spark plug in. Now all the time I've had it, it's been in here in the workshop, or only for about a year. It's been in that black plastic bag, all sealed up, and that's a big thick contractor's type plastic bag in the shed. So it should have been in dry conditions. But anyway, on the crankcases, just above the sprocket, there's another little casting, and it says SL250 SE. And then a number only which you can read part of, because at some time the chain has jumped the sprocket here, done some damage on that side, which has been welded up. So it's got a couple of little broken fins on this back end as well. So, but you know, that BSA engine needs a lot doing to it. This thing's really handy as well. I've had enough time messing around standing engines on wooden boxes. It's sticking. That great big thing there is a problem, and these engine mounting plates at the back are a problem. Hang on, let me shuffle it around, save you just watching that. I think the answer's no. That, don't forget there's a bash plate and everything to go on the bottom. There's only 12 1/4, so there's going to be, and see how high the gearbox sprocket is. The chain, I mean, it's just, God, this is annoying. With the BSA, the gearbox sprocket, the centre of the gearbox sprocket is only about 5 inches from the bottom of the engine. That's 6.5. I don't really want to drop that another inch, which is probably about Yeah, if I dropped it down an inch it would be about in line. Hang on. That's probably workable. About 11 inches of ground clearance. Hang on, let me get a bit of a straight edge. Alright. Luckily a BSA sprocket will go on there. I mean, it's not the same splines or anything, but it's the centre was big enough to go over it. So there's that. There's obviously plenty of clearance there. I wish I had something I could jack the back of this up with, because now I can't really. I wish I can. Mind the chain tension are holding that up a bit. Can you see this end? Not quite. Let me just lower you down a bit. See, there's where the sprocket would be. So yeah, with the chain tensioner there holding it up. Really, it needs to come down more. I'm always annoyed when we've got to drop the bottom end and there's so much space up at the top. Right now you can't see the top. Hang on, let me think and look. Alright, I've looked and I've thought. Actually, with the engine there, which is about central, the chain line's right. Three inches from the centre line. And the sprocket with the wheeling like that is 3 inches from the centre line. I definitely have to bend down that front plate more. So here we go. Let me lift you up. Hold on to your seats. Masses of room at the top. And actually, I'm going to turn you off again. I'm using a concentric just because I happen to have a concentric in hand, and as we know, the the OKO that I'm going to use on it. According to the specs, it has a 28mm. I bought a 26mm OKO because I thought I was putting it on the BSA. That is well out of the way. And that is basically just putting maybe a 30-degree bend in this. And what I was thinking of doing was cutting it off flat there and welding a new one on. With the OKO, we can almost have the tank level with this. Bend that front plate a bit more. Or actually you can cut it off. I've got lots to bolt to. Where it's fouling, I've drawn a line on this so I knew where to put it in the vise and bend it. It's sort of fouling below that line. Hang on. I thought for a minute I was talking to you then and you weren't switched on. Hold your seats. Wow, wobbly wobbly. Keep holding. Hang on, I'm just going to put you on autofocus. There we go. Alright, so as I was saying, you can see it's just touching on these case bolts, but here, I don't think you can see it from there, is where I drew the line for the bend. It's just below the bottom of the tube. I can cut that off, and I've got a whole big piece here on either side. Because to bend it, I have to take everything to pieces so I can put the frame back in the vise. It's not that big a job, but even so, I'm clear for the exhaust pipe here. God, that was a big exhaust pipe. Wow! Where's the bloody hole in that? An inch and... oh, it's 1 3/4. See, I think one of these studs is slightly bent because that flange doesn't want to come off. I think this engine's had a slightly hard life. Oh, temptation, temptation. Do you know what I think? I think we'll pop the head, well I said pop the head off, it's got a cam chain and everything. I think we'll take the top end off this motor, see what the inside looks like, and then decide then. But I'm pretty sure I can get it to fit. And actually I've just been thinking here, because there's a nice flat plate across the back. Oh, lorry. God, there's actually even a hole there. I could mount a bearing there. Have the chain run over the top of the bearing and then go down. And if I did that, I don't even need to have it as low. And actually that helps that clear there. Have that running on, get one of those chain bearing things and have it running on that. God, that's an idea, isn't it? No reason why I can't do that. And then actually take that back up. That's clearing that. would actually come back a little bit, because I haven't decided on this rear mount, because you're getting a lot of talking this week, aren't you? So hopefully that doesn't bore you either. This is one of those annoying things where it's got the bottom's more or less flat, but it's got a drain plug that sticks down. So obviously the bash plate would have to go underneath that. But there, well, that's giving us 12 inches. Masses of room at the top. Don't have to worry about that at all. Although the higher we make it, nope, the carb's still alright. Alright, let's take this out of here, find a bit of bench space, another lorry, and see if I can take a Honda engine apart. Thought I might as well do it on the lift trolley thing. So I come to the first thing. This had a hex head bolt and an Allen, and when I went to them, this one has no threads in it, and that's being tapped to unified. It's a 1/4 inch UNF, not metric. So somebody's really been working on this engine. So let me press on. Well, everything is loose so far, but loose in a way that makes you think, I know why I was given this engine. Oh. I think I do know why I was given this engine. If that's in the end of the camshaft, let me see if I can get that off. Well, I don't know about the rest of the engine, but oops, sorry. Not only is that incredibly loose in everything, but you should see the scoring on here. I mean, it's just unbelievable. So the head's done. Look, everything is loose. And there was another UNF thing there, Allen bolt holding the rocker cover on, and the rocker cover has a broken mounting. Yeah. And I'm going to try something else. Right, let me walk around here. Battery's on red again, folks. I've got this in gear. Now, this engine's toast. Absolutely. Just ready for the scrap. Okay. Thing is, this has really got me intrigued to put something in other than another BSA. I'm going to have an early lunch and think about this. Right, so with that disappointing turn of events, we're going to finish this week's video. Well, not quite finish it. We're not going to do any more work. But as I have been harassed by certain viewers, and you know who you are, I have something to show you to finish off this week. Alright, so stay where you are. I've been spending money. It's exciting this, isn't it? Once you bought, you see a new tea urn. Actually, this is handy that this came today because I was planning to take a load of cardboard down to the rubbish tip. Excuse me. See, I bought myself a new cardboard box. As I say, I don't do unboxing videos, or as I've said in the past. Back again, sorry. I bought myself some polystyrene. Come on. I have to admit this is taking longer than I thought it would. So I hope you're not going to be disappointed. Would you believe it, it's in the box upside down. I have bought an engine. Do you know what? I bought this yesterday. Now admittedly it came from a warehouse in the US, but even so, I was amazed when I got an email this morning to say it would be delivered today. It's 250. It's 5-speed. It has an electric start, which we will take off, so that'll save us some weight. It also has, I think, quite a big generator on the other side, which we're also going to take off. If all the specs are right, this weighed 68 pounds. So I'm thinking with the starter motor gone and the generator gone, both of which are quite hefty things because of all the windings, we're going to have a motor around 60, just over 60 pound, which is 20 pound lighter than the BSA. Might be crap, we don't know yet. But we'll see. So it came with a gear change, which is a bit excessive, it's like a heel toe one. But it came with a nice foldy kickstart as well. So there you go. So there's all the wiring from the generator and everything. We'll be doing away with that. That's quite a nice long clutch arm. I bet that clutch mechanism is quite light. Oh, I can't press it with my hand, but wet sump, so we don't need to mess around with an oil tank. It's got what, one rear top engine mounting, one rear bottom engine mounting, excuse my head, 2 front engine mountings and a big casting on the top. So there you go. See, I do listen to you. I'm thinking, well, I don't know where they are, but it must be a pushrod engine. Or must it? Well, it might be overhead cam, who knows. Anyway, that's what we're going to put in. Alright, so next week we'll start off seeing what we can do with that. Now, I might have to send the car back because that's maybe 26. I don't know what size carb it's supposed to have. Oh, it's bloody raining again. But I'd ordered a 26mm one for the BSA with its 300 conversion, so I might, it's still in the box, I haven't even packed it. I might send it back to Roger and see about getting a smaller one. I'll talk to him about what he thinks. I put a 24mm on the 250 BSAs. I'm not sure what compression ratio it is. Oh, but the specs did include the gear, it's 5-speed, did include the gear ratios. And it gave the internal ratios, and it gave what it said was a primary ratio. Now if that was crank to clutch, then I plugged the numbers into my the spreadsheet I wrote for doing gear ratios, and I can go right down to an ordinary size 50 odd tooth rear wheel sprocket and get the sort of ratios I want. So there you go. Alright, so I'll see you next week when we'll start on this, and until then, stay safe and enjoy yourselves.